Alright, so the title of my presentation is actually called Making the Connection. What I mean by that is how to connect with people so that they can actually listen to what you have to say, so that they're actually interested in what you have to say. So first off, you have to prime your audience. And again, what I mean by that is you have to get your audience to trust you and get them to believe that you really have something meaningful to say to them, for them to even be interested in what you're talking about. Otherwise, all the words coming out of your mouth are probably going to go right over their heads. And so, in order to do that, we really need to focus first on building trust and building rapport with your audience. And so, they say that people trust people like themselves. Let me repeat that. People trust people that are like themselves. And so if you think about that, that's pretty straightforward. When you meet a new person and you have a conversation with them, a lot of times it results in small talk. And small talk, the whole purpose behind that is to ask questions or talk about topics that you have in common with the other person, because you're trying to find points where you can connect the things that you have in common, and you're trying to relate to the person. And so similarly, you want to relate to people when you're trying to earn their trust, especially if you're trying to convince somebody that your idea is worthy of their interest or whatever. And so it's really important to do that. And so let's talk about communication for a moment. Many of you people already know this, but only 7% of your words, or only 7% of communication is from the actual words that you speak or that you write. And the remaining 55% are from nonverbal communication, and 38% is from your voice and your vocal tone and different characteristics there. So how do we actually communicate and build trust with people and focus on these other aspects? Because we focus so much about the right words and what to say, but it's how you say it that really matters. And so the topic I'm going to talk about today is called matching and mirroring. And matching and mirroring is exactly what it sounds like. It's about trying to match what a person is doing or how a person speaks, how a person presents themselves, and trying to mirror exactly what they're doing. Because, like I said before, people trust people that are like themselves. And so if you can act more like another person, then you share more in common with that person, and therefore they're more likely to trust you, and subconsciously they will take what you say with more weight, and they'll actually pay attention to you more. So let's start by talking about the nonverbal communication, because that obviously bears the most weight. And so a couple things you want to pay attention to and really be aware of that the other person is doing and that you're doing as well. First of all is gestures. So if the person is making really large, broad gestures, then you want to match that. If they're making small gestures and if they're very self-contained, then you want to match that to build rapport. Posture. Similarly, you want to make sure you match their posture and proximity. So some people are very comfortable with being up close and in person with you, and other people aren't. So pay attention to that. Facial expressions, pretty obvious. Another big one is eye contact. So if someone walks into the room and they're looking at you directly in the eye and they just keep staring you straight in the eye, then the best thing to do is stare right back, because that's what makes them comfortable. A person that doesn't like making eye contact, you don't want to stare them down because that's going to make them feel uncomfortable. So you want to kind of match that and mirror their actions there. And so that way, again, you're making them comfortable. And finally, you can actually match people's breathing. And what that does is breathing actually controls the emotional state that you're in. And so if you breathe faster, like if you think about it, when you're angry, you tend to breathe faster. When you're calm, you breathe slower. And so you can actually match the person's emotional state by trying to match, paying attention to how they breathe and try to match that as well. So those are just some things that you can look for and really be aware of that will help you communicate more effectively and improve your body language. And in terms of vocal communication, there's a couple other things that you want to pay attention to. First of all is the volume of your voice. Some people are very loud and very, full. They have very full voice and they're just, very, very hearty. And other people just would like to be quiet and soft-spoken. And you want to pay attention to that as well, because someone that speaks really loud and fast is not going to end up communicating or relating to the person that's not doing that as well. So you also want to pay attention to your pitch, tone, and timbre, which are all qualities of your voice. And so I also want to talk to you about the vocal communication, different styles of communication that people have. And so there's 4 different types. There's auditory communicators, there's visual, auditory, kinesthetic and digital. And so visual communicators talk very quickly, and they tend to use large gestures, and they're really trying to get all the pictures out of their head. They're just trying to talk as fast as they can, and like you all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and so that's exactly the way they communicate. And an auditory learner is they're gonna just choose their words very carefully, and be very eloquent about what they say. And a kinesthetic communicator focuses on their feelings, and they don't speak as fast. They're a lot more soft spoken, and they just tend to feel things more. They communicate their feelings more so than they do their words. And finally, digital communicators are ones that focus on the information at hand. So that's the most important thing to them is hard facts, and they want you to back up everything you say. So pay attention to that and try to match what they have. So that way you're able to connect with them and build trust, and that way they're a lot more likely to listen to you and what you have to say. So again, to answer that question, how do you connect with people and get them to listen to what you have to say? I'd say if there's one thing I'd leave you guys with today, the most important point is just that people, again, trust people like themselves. So if you're able to relate to them and act like them,